shall take effect upon passage and publication.
Move to adopt. Thank you, guys.
Mr. Deaton moved to adopt.
Second.
Mr. Ritchie, second. Any discussion? Dan?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Judge. On behalf of the Budget Committee members, J.P. Howerton, Deaton, and the County Judge, and J.P.'s, by extension, offer the following discussion, and if there's any questions, certainly have the discussion and eventually move to adopt the budget. We started this budget process after it had been decided at the Quorum Court to form a budget committee, which the judge duly appointed. And the motivation was to get the budget done a little bit sooner than we had in recent years. And that was our aim, was to put together a process that would, if we started early enough, that would produce what we have in front of us today, which is a consolidated county budget completed at the end of October instead of late November or even mid-December. And that just makes the planning and programming responsibilities of all county agencies and departments a little bit smoother, and we've accomplished that mission. And I think we did it in pretty good order. I just want to explain for those who were not as close to it as the Budget Committee were. We held a series of 6 meetings, and we were ably assisted by the County Treasurer and the County Clerk, and the Judge even sat in with us a couple times to make sure that we keep our nose to the grindstone. And how we did it is we decided that we would give each, I called JP's up, I think you've seen it, certainly if the public or the press wants copies of these, you're welcome to, of course. Sent out a cover memo to all the county agencies and department heads explaining what our process would be. We gave them a worksheet to work with. We gave them some general and some very specific instructions and requests for information with an aim to get that data to the county clerk's office not later than the 10th of August, which they all did a great job of doing. With county treasurer and county clerk put the packages together, and was it the 29th of August? We tackled this. And I'll just pass this around, but you can see just as an example of one of those worksheets that we gave to the county department heads. Some were more filled out than others, but all of them were filled out. When I say more filled out, some were more detailed than others, but they answered, each department did a fantastic job of answering the questions, telling us what their budget priorities were, what their budget concerns were, how they would handle the budget cut if it came to that, and how, and I think this is important because it gets to a very unique, important part of our budget this year, is that what they would do if they could save money or generate money within their particular office function, how they would apply it, and would they be able to apply it to a modest pay increase for county employees. They were successful at that. And I'm happy to speak on behalf of the Budget Committee, and I hope the Quorum Court will agree, the rest of the Quorum Court will agree that we've been able to carve out a modest pay increase for all our county employees this year. And we're happy about that.
Can we say how modest that is?
3%. 3%. I would say the other key feature of this budget, and I welcome my other Budget Committee members to jump in here, is the option that we so often deal with at this table where we transfer monies within a budget category so that they can, instead of buying money on pencils, papers, and toner, they want to do carpet for their office. That we decided as a budget committee, and I hope the Quorum Court will agree to it, because that's what was read in section 2 there of the ordinance, is it allows an office department head, in other words, the person responsible for the budget, to make those minor transfers within their department, not county personnel services or benefits, or contract services either. That has to come to the table. That gives those budget managers the flexibility to manage their own office without coming to us. And it saves us time at this table, and certainly it saves publishing ordinances costs. As we require to do. I'm going to kind of wrap up my remarks. I offer either Jack or John to their perspective, and certainly happy to answer questions.
As a highlight, I think the department heads did a very good job in holding the line on their budget request. Some come in below last year's budget. A few come in 1% or 2% over. We went through those thoroughly, and they were justified, but they all did a good job of holding the line on budget, which allowed us to give them this modest raise. Gives them a little bit closer to where their employees should be. It wasn't raises for the elected officials, it was raises for their help.
Like mainly, like Mr. Moomaw, he put in a lot of time kind of spearheading this thing for us and did a fantastic job preparing paperwork. And like John said, the department heads did a great job. We only had to bring, 2 or 3 back in to discuss a couple items on the thing. They really stepped up and did a good job. And I think it's going to be very beneficial to us in the future of allowing the department heads a little more latitude on spending their money as long as they stay within their boundaries. Kind of put the ball back in their court. And just think back over the years how much time we spent here on paperwork and discussing just to move money from one spot to the other, where it really is not necessary as long as they keep the bottom line within reason. You know, there's no reason us to spend this much time. We can spend on a lot more important things. And so that way the judge don't have to keep us at past limits sometimes.
Judge, I'll just wrap up. The last thing I'll say on the budget is, as I feel to say to begin with, is also, besides what we hope is increasing a little efficiency, we also increased, which I think is intangible but immeasurably good, communication between departments, because it wasn't just Jamie and Cindy and Jack and John and Dan sitting around the table. We had very often department and office heads came in and presented their budget in a very across the table manner, and oftentimes we had more than one department head there, and they discovered efficiencies and shared good practices, which you would think normally would happen, but because we get busy day in and day out on our jobs, sometimes that communication doesn't take place, and saw a lot of that, and I think that will just be a great benefit in the future. Speaking of the future, this was our first cut. If we all get reelected again, at least we can hope, we can say that next year's budget, what we learned this year, will improve. Lamont's already made some suggestions about how we can improve the presentation and maybe even make it a little bit smoother. And then the 3 of us are gone, and hopefully what we've done will be something that somebody else can rely on in the future.
I'd like to thank Jamie and Cindy both putting a lot of time answering some questions for us, educating us in some areas that we had some questions ourselves. And really thank them for their help on this.
Sort of bottom line is the budget within 1 or 2% of what last year's budget was.
It's very, very little change.
Good job.
Don?
Been on several years in the budget process. I tell you what, I am really impressed, and I want to commend these guys and the department heads, because it sounded like it's so smooth compared to what we had before. I'm glad that we did this. Thank you, guys.
Ron?
I want to say I sat in on a couple of the sessions with the budget committee. I was very impressed with the work they did and pleased with the way they did it. I think this is a great leap forward for us in doing our budget. I don't like the budget, as those of you who've been on here a while know, I don't like the budget from last year's budget. I like the budget from what people really need and not worry about last year's budget, but I think they did that. I think the questionnaire made each department establish what they needed, what they were going to spend their money on, where it went. I have been opposed to percentage pay raises always. I think it's a very unfair way of paying and we did put a small percentage raise in here. We haven't given raises for several years, any significant raises, so the employees are certainly overdue for a raise. I don't have a problem with the 3% raise. I have talked to the budget committee about setting up some sort of pay study for this county. So that part of next year's budget is having a pay study to figure out what areas we're seriously underpaying in, which areas we're slightly underpaying in, which areas we may be overpaying in, and come up with a complete pay plan. So when people come to work for the county, they know where they're going to go and where the budget is going to take them and where their pay is going to go over the years. We don't have that, and it's not fair to employees, it's not fair to the taxpayers, it's not fair to the county. So I'm hoping that will be part of next year's budget, and the committee has told me it will.
Well, you'll never be able to completely tell a new person that comes to work how much pay raises they're going to get 5 years from now, because you're going to have to look at your budget and anticipated revenue each year to know whether you can do that.
That's right, but what we can have is a pay plan where everybody knows where they start compared to everybody else.
Well, yeah,
And-
you can do that.
And the raises will be considered on the following basis annually, and of course, it's always subject to the budget, to the money we have. If we don't have enough money, we cannot give raises, period. We've seen that the last couple of years.
I would like to see that explored a little further in terms of having perhaps a cost of living element to the raise and a merit element, which is left up to the department head to get, people need an incentive. And if raises are given across the board, there really is no incentive to give a little extra. And, if you can provide some pay increases through a cost of living, which is mandatory across the board, and then a portion of the 3% or 4% left up to the department heads to divvy up based upon evaluations done of the employees.
That's the type of thing I'm talking about, is just having a plan where they know that it's not going to be just a blanket percentage raise if and when it's a raise.
I agree with Richie on that, because I've been a supervisor, 30 years in the retail businesses, and I know very well, every office works differently, department works differently. The people in that office, you'll have somebody out working 2 or 3 other people. And some people, I've told employees, say, you ought to turn around and give me a paycheck first. You ought to be embarrassed to face me. You did such a poor job this week. But the thing is that some people work harder than others, so the department head ought to be able to award the ones that work harder. And I think that would be and just to know that, well, the one that did do very good work will get as much raise as I did. It just doesn't seem fair to me. It would be an incentive to work harder.
One thing that we will have to be very careful of, though, on any sort of merit raise, whoever does the evaluation of the employee, it has to be consistent across the county. And we'll have to work some sort of plan where they can be sure that they're consistent in the evaluation of the employees.
John?
I'm assuming since the projected budget is very close to last year, that our projected revenues are very close to last year. Is that true?
Pretty much. You can see on the budget that we read, the projected revenues for each department are shown on there. And we do get our monthly budget summary that shows what last year's budget was. And so I've compared them, and they are relatively close. There's differences in different funds, but there aren't significant differences in money.
How much was County General's anticipated revenue up this year over last year? Does anybody know just off the top of their head?
I said that for him to ask.
Any more discussion? Call for the vote.
Mr. Blackburn?
Yes.
Mr. Deaton?
Yes.
Mr. Flake?
Yes.
Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. Howerton?
Yes.
Mr. McNeely?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes.
Mr. Mumma?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Swafford?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not December 28th or
I'm going to ask somebody on this Carroll County progress report, is this something to do with your office or the assessor's office, or? I don't remember ever getting one of these before.
Your progress report, Joanne?
Oh, we do get them. Part of the problem is it shows what the appraisers are doing. Part of the year doesn't show anything because what they're doing is in-house and the rest of the time they're out. Those are something that we can get you on a regular basis, once a month, if you're interested in seeing what they are.
Well, no, not necessarily that. I was just trying to figure out exactly
It's
what
us.
it was. Is this,
This is out of ACT. This is out of Dennis's office, the appraisal manager's office.
is this how many, well, for instance, the Moark View Estates?
Do you want a copy, Joanne?
171.
Thank you.
It's got 171. Is that the number of
This is the number
parcels
of
in
properties
that
that they've reviewed.
that they've reviewed?
Right, in
Okay,
this
not the-
area.
That's
Yes.
not the number that's in that?
No.
Okay.
This is what they reviewed and have made some kind of a change, transaction, looked at, something.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean
So this is just kind of a work list, so I keep tabs on.
now. Okay.
Okay, so down the bottom says the reappraisal for this county is scheduled to be completed in 2012, so.
We start over next year.
So,
They'll start reappraising everything. We're probably gonna go to a 5-year because Washington County, Benton County, everybody's gone because sales were down, and sales go down, then our percentage drops. And when our percentage drops, we have to spread our appraisal time out. And so we're probably gonna go to a 5-year appraisal, which I'm not in favor of, but I have no control over that, so.
But this is basically what they come to your office and they're told and then review.
Right, they have all that information in their office, and this just is kind of a guideline of what they're working on, and when they're out in the field, and it just gives you an update of
Okay.
what it is and what's going on.
Joanne, why do we, and I'm looking at the October and November ones that we have here, why for the residential and agricultural only properties do we not have any valuations, and for the city properties, we have only valuations?
I have to ask Dennis, this is strictly a Dennis report, and I don't know what he's done there. So we'd have to get him in here to ask him what it is,
And are the valuations in hundreds of thousands or millions? Or?
we have, valuations are up on some properties, and
I'm just trying to interpret the numbers in here. And for the city of Green Forest, it shows 1,043 as a valuation. What can you tell
let
me?
me look.
This is on the one labeled October 2011.
Yeah, that was. So you guys have several reports in this folder. Okay.
The two you gave me to put in there,
Okay.
but it's the two that I put in there for you.
You know, I couldn't tell you what that is. I don't know, to be real honest with you. I'd have to ask Dennis.
Well, maybe if you come back next month.
Now you know what we ask.
Yeah.
Notice that says right here in the top corner?
Yeah, what is this exactly? Because I don't know what that number is in the evaluation thing. I know when they're doing different things on stuff that they're checking, that's in the first one, in data collect and review. But on the valuation, I'm not sure what they've done.
Okay.
Could maybe you bring him in here to explain
Sure.
this next
Save
month?
these for next month.
Oh, you'll have another one next month. You'll bring me some more.
But can he explain?
Oh,
come in
yeah,
with it?
Dennis can explain everything. He doesn't miss a beat on anything.
Yeah, I have talked to Dennis in the past, but just so we all understand what.
Yeah, this could have been in your report forever. For years, it wasn't put in there. I just passed them along, and they weren't put in there. And then I just quit turning them in because they weren't put in there. So they're back.
I get, there is a pretty significant part to this, and that is that the money that we take in is based on the valuations, So if there's a trend,
Right, and
we
Dennis,
should know what that trend is.
right. And comparably, he'll have all that information because he just keeps an ongoing.
Joanne, I think part of what they're asking you is the
Correct.
the new construction and the found construction.
I
That's
don't
what translates into more tax dollars.
No, I don't think that's what you're looking at, is it?
Okay.
We have found 27 million in new found value.
We just didn't know what this was.
Yeah, that is
And
just the
neither
report
did
itself.
Joanne.
They were- Yeah, that's the new value, I know that because this report is just something that Dennis turned in so that to track his progress in the county when they start going through and doing the reappraisal. So you'll be able to see every step.
But doesn't that newfound value translate into revenue?
That's what I'm trying to answer your
Absolutely, yeah.
question, John, yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying the 27 million was, that he has found this year, is the 27 million in value.
Next item of business is JP's comments on the agenda item.
Thank you, Judge. I'd like to talk about national flood insurance for just a second. A couple minutes, actually. 6 months ago, when I first brought this to the table, I hope everyone will recall that I introduced it to the Quorum Court because a number of my constituents had asked me to do so. And that is and was and always will remain my obligation, is to bring forward an issue of concern to the people that I'm charged with representing. And I've done that, as you recall, and I asked for the Quorum Court's forbearance in that, and I appreciate all of your patience. What I promised in that effort was that if and when we ever brought an ordinance to the table, we would only do so after we had spent as much time as we collectively and I personally thought was reasonable learning about the National Flood Insurance Program. We have done that, in my opinion. We've had 5 presentations here at the Quorum Court. We've had 2 public meetings. And in all those discussions, as I think some of you know and would understand, that we invited the subject matter experts in to tell us the facts about the program as they viewed them. We had a national representative in Ms. Herrera. We had a state representative in Mr. Borngasser. We had a fellow or sister county representative in Ms. Ritchie. And we've heard from our own Jason Morris today. No time did I try to or never would have intended to steer that discussion one way or the other. I think we've had a robust, public exchange about it. When I first started this out, I think I mentioned across the table that being an old bomber pilot, if you're going to fly a mission, you got to take the flak. Well, I'm happy to have flown the mission. I'm going to call the mission complete at this point. And I appreciate people's input, both pro and against. And I'm going to leave it at that. We appreciate your patience. We will hear no more about infit at this time. And just so we can have at least one quotable quote from the newspapers, it was a worthy effort. Something needed to be aired, but I'm no longer a believer in pushing a wet noodle across 8 grit sandpaper. So we will leave it at that.
I'm just writing that down.
Anyone else? Jack?
One of the things that come up in the budget that really gives us a hard time, I'm hoping Mr. Swaffer gets involved in some of this, is looking at the future of one of the problems we're having in roads is if somebody goes out and builds a house half a mile off of the main highway and builds them a driveway, and the next thing I know they want it as a county road. And there's not enough money anywhere to maintain some of these roads in the conditions they're built to start with. And I'm hoping sometime in the near future we can get somebody, and you've got a lot of knowledge in roads and stuff, and equipment and stuff, to kind of start taking a look at some kind of a regulation. I know you're very firm against zoning, but something we could look at to try to curtail some of these people from building these logging roads and expect them to be a superhighway someday at the county's expenses.
Well, just on a quick note, I think the county judge anytime can, even if he so chose to come to the Quorum Court, which I don't think he has to, can set requirements of what a road has to be took in and made a county road. I mean,
Ron?
Just along that line, I've been working with DeVoe for some time on working out a new county road ordinance. We have a road ordinance that dates from the 70s and is outdated, outmoded, and doesn't work for us. I've been working with DeVoe to try to modify an ordinance we got from Boone County and some other things to build a road ordinance that will work for Carroll County, that gives the judge the backing and guidance he needs. So it's not just him making the decision. He needs an ordinance behind him. And hopefully we'll be able to get that to the table pretty shortly. And to piggyback on what Jack is saying, I think as part of that ordinance, or in parallel with that ordinance, we need to prepare a plan. I talked about a payroll plan. We need a plan for our road department. I remember at last year's budget time when we had the road department bring in a list of their equipment. We were all shocked looking at that list. That is the most outmoded, outdated, obsolete list of equipment that you could imagine. The trucks are 30 to 40 years old. All the equipment is worn out. The only decent things we have are the replacement stuff we bought in the last couple of years and the graders that we've been leasing. And so we need to come up with a capital expenditure plan, I think it's capital expenditures for the road department, to update their fleet of equipment to the point that it is workable. And Larry, I agree with Jack. You should be involved in that. You're an equipment guy. You're a truck driver. You work with this stuff all the time. And I'd like to propose that maybe we try to get together a road committee that works on doing something like that with you on that committee. And from that, we work into a plan to spend a certain amount each year towards replacing and updating this equipment so that we can have decent road department stuff. And the sheriff has offered that perhaps some of his excess money can go to the road department, which would certainly be a help. There's various things we can look at over the years, but we can't keep up the roads that we have. We've got all these chip and seal roads around this county. You go drive them, and they're a nightmare, and they're not fixable. We cannot do anything to fix them. What we need to do is plow them under and start over, because they were never built to specs that will hold the chip and seal. And we've got, I don't know how many miles of that. We've got several. And then we've got gravel roads that I don't know if they ever met any kind of specs other than somebody went through and knocked the trees out of the road and went through there. And so we've got a county road that people have to drive down. So
and on what Jack said to me there on the